have to go back to make sure that that says Sacramento. Does someone know who this chart is, and does it look familiar?
This is my chart, but there's something wrong with it because it should, the ascendant should be closer to 10 cap. Ah, okay, in November 4, 1952.
I misspelled Sacramento, silly me.
Okay, 38.
You got to watch these people with Mercury and Pisces. I also have a number aphasia, which is like being dyslexic, but with numbers.
Okay.
That's not so helpful if you're a Jyotishi.
Right.
There we go. So.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Close enough. Yeah.
All right, so the question on the table is, should you be writing and studying? Is that what you?
Is this the right time to be making, to be gearing up?
Yes. Okay. Now that's another one of my techniques. Somebody asked me a question and I don't see, I mean, in the nanosecond that I've looked at this chart, if I don't see any legitimate reason to not do that, I mean, unless somebody's saying, should I have a criminal career as a bank robber or something? But you're saying, should I be gearing up for writing? Okay, the first thing I can see, all right, you're in the Mahadasha of Mercury. You're going to be doing this anyway. Mercury is the Lord of your 9th house. This is about publishing, teaching, all those sorts of things in general. So that's why in 1 nanosecond, I can say yes. But additionally, here's the other factors that I would look at. Not that you're asking me, but simply because again, this would be an example of how I work with my clients, just looking at the big ticket issues. Okay, so as you well know, Saturn in the sky is stationary, turning direct. You have your chart lord in your 1st house for the first time in 30 years. And this says that essentially for the next 2.5 years or so, or the next 2 years, there's some time frame, just to give you the general concept. That, this is your time to be who you actually are. Self-expression, self-realization. I give you permission to do whatever you want. You're Capricorn rising. You always do the right thing anyway, don't you? You always do the integrous thing because you're Capricorn rising, and you're highly motivated to do good things for everybody. So you have your chart lord in your 1st house for the first time in 30 years. In a certain way, I would say, go for it, go for anything. And then, as you well know, Jupiter will soon be in your 1st house. Now, I can hear all the scholars out there going, yes, but it's debilitating. Well, I don't care. I mean, I do care. I mean, I do care. And I'm not being sloppy, but I mean, that is a very low level consideration for me. Here's Jupiter, I would say to my clients. Jupiter, the planet of evolution and fortune and gain. That's it. That's a simple concept. Evolution, fortune, and gain. It's in your 1st house. You're learning a lot about your 1st house. I mean, you're learning a lot about yourself and how much wisdom and accumulated knowledge you have, the wisdom that you've acquired through direct experience. That's a Jupiter concept. And this is, if there was any time to just go for it, it would be, gosh, I would say, to the next 14 months or so. So now you might legitimately say, but Charlotte, you should be looking at the downside of this. Okay, well, we can find something wrong with it. What would that be? Let's see. Well, the nodes also, I would, if you were my client, Lynn, I would say, well, here's a new development just a few days ago. The very powerful planets, Rahu Ketu, changed into a new sector of your chart. I don't use the word houses. I don't use any lingo, just because I don't have the time to explain that level of meaning too. I don't use the word houses, but it's the sector of your the very powerful planet without mass. Rahu is moving into your 5th house of creativity and past life credit. I might use the word purva punya just because I like the word purva punya. You don't get to say that very often. But so this is the time when you can draw on your past life credit to be creative, or do whatever you like to do. Now, you can clearly see for yourself, Dr. Client, that Rahu will be on your moon. Ooh, what's going to happen there? If my client said to me, ooh, what's going to happen there? I would say, what do you have in mind? You're an educated adult person. You're self-directed. You have self-discipline. You take the long view because you're Capricorn rising. What would you like? What would you like to have happen here, madam? I mean, I'm not dodging the question, but I am again.
Well, I want to write and teach and lecture about astrology and have more of a, actual consulting practice.
All right. Well, hello. You know that your moon, your exalted, bright moon is in the house of being a minister to a king. You're a high-class consultant. Now, I would offer that, even if you didn't ask me anything, I would say, oh, well, the first thing I would do in your chart is say, okay, you're Capricorn rising. You're a Saturn-based person. The Lord of your chart goes to the 9th house. You are a natural born teacher, guru, guide, life coach, explainer, philosopher, uplifter, cheerleader. That's where you operate best, is not necessarily in the world of academia, although that's also obvious. You have your chart lord in the 9th house. So, I've been watching you in these seminars, Lynn. You're writing. You are such a scholar. You have your chart lord in the 9th house. You're a philosopher, writer, publisher. You're a published author. So, I mean, you're already oriented toward that. And then we go on to your moon sign. Well, you've got the exalted moon in the house of being a consultant. You have tremendous common sense, right? Isn't the 5th house the type of intelligence that cannot be taught or learned? It's either in you or it's not. Remarkable intelligence. If you want to be a full-time practicing Jyotishi, you're it. You have some planet in the 1st house, which I can't actually see. Oh, Rahu in the 1st house. Well, so you're a natural born outlier. That's my word for Rahu. So by that, I mean, that's a general statement, but let's be honest, to be a Jyotishi in the West, or any kind of metaphysician in the West, you have to have a pretty thick skin. I mean, and you're not going to fit in because you have Rahu in the 1st house. Forget about fitting in. You're not going to fit in. That's the beauty of your chart, is that, here's what I would say. If you were a client of mine, I would say, you look normal. You can pass for normal, but you are not, which is excellent. It's an excellent combination, because you could be a world-class metaphysician, just using that as a concept, but you could work in corporate boardrooms. You already have credentials to be accepted in society. There's nothing holding you back here. Yes, this is the time to do that. And then again, the Rahu Ketu energy will just provide the means and methods for that. There would be I'm telling my clients that, in whatever sector Rahu is entering, I said, there's going to be a sudden up spike in your experience of that house. Okay, you're past the childbearing age. You're probably not going to have many more kids now, Lynn. Okay, probably not going to run off on some mad love affair with someone. Probably not. You could do that, but the general creativity that's inherent in the 5th house is, yes, you can certainly do that. Absolutely. And then the other thing about your beautiful bright moon in the 5th house, congratulations. It's aspected by its own Lord in the 11th house. Gosh, yes, you'd be serving humanity and yourself by doing this. So you have the 7th house Lord in the 5th house. You could be famous, or, the 7th house is also associated with anybody who's not you. I mean, whether it's your individual partner or anybody else in the world, the general public. So that you could be quite popular in this period. And it's not a matter of fame. I mean, fame has no intrinsic value itself, does it? but it just means that you would get recognition for the quality of work that you do in this period. I think this is wonderful for you. And again, you have your exalted moon aspected by its own Lord in the 11th house. Now, the 11th house I've found is also associated with the, this is what I would say to a client, with being, with creating value. Venus is the planet of value, creating value in the process of raising human consciousness. Now, probably nowhere in the Shastras will you find that the 11th house is associated with raising human consciousness, but it is associated with groups of friendly strangers with a common cause and just the human condition in a general way. I mean, that is my opinion. That's what I've seen in any chart that I've seen. I see a lot of lately I've seen a lot of clients with planets in the 11th house is what I'm intending to say. And I said, oh, that's right. I said this to this. Yes, I said this to this person earlier today. A Greek physician, and I said, you're really interested in the evolution of human consciousness. Without missing a beat, without a nanoseconds delay, she said, yes, that is what I'm about. Although she was a doctor. So anyway, I think, Lynn, all this is to say, yeah, you got this. I mean, you were born to be a Jyotishi. That's why you've been doing this for so long. Which is not to say that you couldn't also be a fabulous physician as well.
Well, I did that, but I retired from that. But I have one little Rahu story, since I have Rahu in the first houses. Sometime in elementary school, my dad explained the solar system and the stars, which I, of course, was over the moon about that. And I was attempting to explain to one of my little friends that we're moving. And which the only way she could relate to that was that she got up and went running into the house and Mom, Lynn is moving away.
Yeah.
So that's about what I knew. I was like on a different planet.
So get comfortable on that other planet. You know, working with my clients, when I see Rahu in the first house or Ketu, I say, listen, I wish we could have had this conversation when you were a teenager, and I would have said, don't even bother to try to fit in. Why fit in? I mean, you're a stranger in a strange land. Just make the most of it. And this is your style. That's the word I use for the ascendant. This is, okay, you're Capricorn rising. This is your style. You're serious, you're sober, you're somber, with a twist. That's what I would say with, where either one of the nodes, with a twist, you can use that. I call, the nodes are tricky to explain unless you come up with a euphemism, I think. So I call them outliers and wild cards, anomalies, just the concept of an anomaly. Wherever you see a node with another planet, there is an anomaly there, or with a twist. And people just, even on that really unscholarly level of discourse, people get that. I mean, my intention is to, although that might be too lighthearted for, again, you serious scholars, the general public can understand that. So that's what I have to say about that. Yeah, November is going to be particularly good for your career, isn't it, Lynn? Between November 16th and December 10th. And I told you the last time we talked that I have my little cheat sheet here. And I have a hand drawn. It looks like it's drawn by a kindergartner, but I've got where all the planets are in this case for 2020. That's why I could just toss off. Venus is in Libra, your 10th house, Lynn. The house of, here's what I consider the 10th house: your name, your game, your fame, your status, your name, your game, your fame. And my clients get that. They go, oh, that's fun. Yes, your status, your career, what you do to contribute to society. Venus will be in its own sign from November 16th to December 10th. That's a particularly creative period for you in general, but also specifically associated with at least a short-term rise in status, to the degree that it would encourage you to keep going. So there. Is that helpful at all?
Yeah. I'm curious about, I'm being an astrologer in my dasha periods here.
Well, all right, to be quite frank, because so my experience of dealing with clients is that, now again, somebody asked me to be here, so I'm telling you my approach to this is that I am very suspicious of any birth time. Not, I mean, for any birth time. I always, the first thing when I'm dealing with a client is, what is the source of your stated birth time? Birth certificate, okay, that's good. Mother's memory, oh, never mind. So I have to, but back to dashas, you know, what I say to my clients is, if your time of birth is accurate to the minute, that prefaces everything. If your time of birth is accurate to the minute, then you're in your Mercury dasha Mars subperiod. Now you can see from my screen, I'm only doing two levels here, because first of all, I'm naturally skeptical about a birth time. But if you're in the major period of your 6th house Lord and your 9th house Lord. You've got a perfectly respectable Mercury. And one of the few simple concepts in Jyotish is anything that's in the 11th house is good. Remember that? I mean, wow, one rule that doesn't have 57 other corollary conditions associated with it. Anyone in the 11th house is good. So you're in the major period of Mercury, which is, of course, generically, okay, so that's what I also use with my clients. I say, because Mercury is the generic planet of education, information, processing reality in the way that becomes useful to you. There's a high learning curve here for that long period of Mercury. It's specifically good for working with astrology, because that's, Mercury is one of the karakas for astrology. But in your particular case, Lynn, I would say make the most of this until, if your time of birth is accurate to the minute, until the fall of 2028, because your Mercury is in the detective, investigative, metaphysical sign of Scorpio. Yes, do whatever you like here. Okay, somebody out there is going to say, but Charlotte, Mercury is the Lord of the 6th house. Shouldn't she watch out for accidents? Yeah, of course. Shouldn't she guard her health? Yeah, naturally. Now, my approach to dealing with my clients is, I would just say something lighthearted like that. I'm not going to be mentioning accidents. I would say, something along the lines of, be mindful, and watch your health. Now, as soon as you say to somebody, with all due respect, your age, Len, by the way, I'm a lot older than you. And when I say to somebody of our ages, watch your health, I mean, that goes, oh my God, something bad is going to happen. No, the 6th house is in my experience, my understanding is that the 6th house is the type of health-related issues that can be managed through simple common sense techniques. Take your vitamins, do yoga, get to bed before 10 o'clock, watch what you eat. Those kinds of efficient functioning sort of ways to deal with your health. And okay, if somebody says yes, but might she be charged in court cases? Well, maybe, but unless somebody asks me about that, unless you've got
I thought you were going to use a bank teller.
You're going to use unless you're engaged in some kind of criminal activity, we wouldn't bring that up. I would go, just because of my simple-mindedness, to the Lord. You're in the period of the Lord of your 9th house. This is the house of the grace of God. Make the most of this. This says you make good, considered decisions, don't you? You have your nice chart, Lord Saturn, in the 9th house of, your 1st house, Lord Saturn, in the 9th house of considered decisions. And you can use your experience and your education, your accumulated education, to make sound long-term choices. So that's how I would look at being in your dasha period. And I know you're going to say, what? Well, I'm in the sub period of Mars. Okay, what's the deal with your Mars? Mars is in the 12th house. All right, you have the 4th house Lord and the 11th house Lord in the 12th house, 4th house Lord in the 12th house. Well, are you working on another academic degree? That 4th house Lord? Probably not. But you could be working on essentially the equivalent of that in a self-directed course of study. Well, Jupiter is going over that. But again, that would be the kind of the light touch I would use for dashas and bhuktis. because, all right, here comes the heretical statement. I mean, some of you know, because I've confessed this, that I have Rahu in the 9th house. So I'm a natural born heretic. So there, the heretical statement is that really, because of the volume of people that I see, and I cannot explain every single thing in the world to these people in either 60 minutes or 90 minutes, I use the major transits. That's it. I look at their dashas, and if the dashas contribute something to my understanding of what may or may not happen here, I mean, I do consider that. But since you're a Jyotishi and you're looking at your dashas, the one thing I would look at in your chart is that period around October of 2028. Now that's interesting because there's a shift there. But you're dealing with a visible planet. You're in the Mahadasha of a visible planet. This is how I also draw a distinction in, working with people's charts. If you can see the planet with your naked eye, any planet out to Saturn, you can manage this through choices, through your choices and your intelligence and your experience. When we get into these interesting planets like K2, well, hold on to your hat, lady. Now, I can say I'm saying that to you in this, in this context. You're going from the superconscious realm of Mercury. No, you're going in the very conscious experience of Mercury. Facts, figures, pros, cons, what makes sense? That's what I mean, conscious, into the super conscious experience of K2, where now we're really talking interesting activities in your life. So I do go on, as I said, but that's my approach to dashas and bhuktis. And I know it's heretical, and well, what can we do with me? But in the meantime, hit it hard. And so that's also a concept I would say. All right, you're in this nice manageable Mahadasha of Mercury. Just carry on, take care of your health, and publish your share your knowledge, share your experience, go on adventures as soon as COVID clears up. So here's another thing I say to my clients. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with what we've done here today? And, and that gives me permission to either change my focus or I'm not wanting to be so abrupt, but I am. So, how, what else should we do here, kids?
Yeah.
Is Meenakshi still here? Or
No, I'm here, Charlotte. And also my kid has actually came. So Muthu is also here. If you want to pick him up, you can go ahead. Yeah. Or you want to continue?
Okay.
First, I
think.
Yeah. Is that a possibility to make it the North Indian as well?
Oh.
If possible. Otherwise, I'm okay. I do understand from the South Indian. While if in the audience also there are times people are comfortable with the North Indian. If not, it's okay. We'll go ahead with the South.
Again, you know how dim-witted I am. I have to say, if I mess around with something in my settings, God knows how long it would take me to get back. But not
a problem. Not a problem. That's okay. That's okay.
But, okay, so here's the first house. You see where it says 1 on the outside margin? This is the ascendant. This Muthu is Cancer rising. So this is the first house, second, third, and around the chart like this. You can sort of turn that square into the circle. First house right here, second house with Mars and Jupiter in the second house, a cluster of planets in the third house, fourth house, etc. So
Got it.
I'll be honest with you, back in the day I studied the northern charts, but it takes me so long to figure out where things are. I just can't do it. I can do it, but I'm not going to. I could.
Understood. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Charlotte.
So
We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead
So-
with this.
okay,
Muthu is already here and he is unmuted himself. So,
okay.
so
Charlotte.
go ahead.
Hello. Do you have a question for me, sir?
I don't have a question. I'm eager to get your assessment.
Oh, well, okay. So this must be Exalted Moon Day. So congratulations, congratulations, sir. Again, I think you're vaguely familiar with my essential technique. If you showed up, well, not in my office, but on my Zoom or Skype, and you knew nothing about astrology, I would say, well, you're Cancer rising, so you know you're a sensitive, emotional person, very identified with being a family member, both your family of origin and your family. You're Cancer rising. Okay, so you're the lord of your planet. Out of all the planets in the solar system, let's call the moon a planet. Out of all the planets in the solar system, the one that most represents you as an icon is the moon. So your moon goes to the 11th house. Congratulations. That's a great place to have it. This says that you'll have plenty of opportunities for development in your lifetime. I'm skimming through this. This is, as you well know, again, I'm going to repeat the one simple rule in Jyotish: all planets in the 11th house are good. Congratulations. You have exalted moon too. You have an exalted brightish moon. So this means you'll be visible and viable in your lifetime. Now, I'll add something. This is my process. Okay, identify the lagna, identify the lagna lord and his location, and then I would go through my assessment of planets aspecting your moon. Now, in your case, although I know that Saturn aspects your moon, what's way more interesting to me, again, my approach is I'm a modern Western Jyotishi. So you see this planet down here that looks like a fork? That is Neptune's trident. And you know, I've freely confessed that I'm a big fan of the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So as you can clearly see for yourself, sir, your Neptune at 1 degree of Scorpio is precisely contacting your moon at 1 degree of Taurus. Now, I would say that although you have the attributes of a Taurus moon, the reason that the moon likes to be in Taurus so much is that you have common sense. You could be the master of the material world because your moon is your chart lord is in an earth sign. Time, materials, resources, money, management, possessions, stuff, the material world. Yes, you have common sense, you have stable emotions. However, you're also influenced by Neptune, which is completely different than anything that I just touched on. Neptune is the planet. Neptune is the planet of the spiritual realm, or one of the planets of the spiritual realm. Yes, Ketu is one of the planets of the spiritual realm too. But I mean spiritual. I don't mean metaphysical or religious. I mean spiritual. And so, obviously, you're a very spiritually oriented person. But the other qualities that Neptune. Let's be honest. When you were young, your moon did not like to be contacted by Neptune because Neptune is the planet of illusion, delusion, confusion, self-deception. Deception is the planet of minimization, marginalization, fuzzy thinking, ambiguity, ambivalence, and some other things. Neptune has a very broad spectrum. It's the planet that's associated with, again, fuzzy thinking and ambiguity, and perhaps being invisible or fitting in, blending into the wallpaper, or marginalization or minimization. You could have been in a certain way, although you have a bright moon at the top of your chart. You could have been in your early days a bit invisible somehow. Now, my Western clients are okay with those terms, invisible. Obviously, you're not invisible, but minimized or marginalized, perhaps. typically a client would say, yeah, I was the youngest of 27 children and dad was gone, or what is, they're going to pipe in and give me their version of being invisible. But in your case, it says that also, since Neptune is the planet of higher spiritual states, devotion, you have a lot of emotion for devotion. Aren't you a very devoted person, sir? Can't see your face.
Yes, I am.
And I mean, that's an interesting concept. I could, if a person is not devoted, they will not understand that question. So sometimes I intersperse my sessions by saying, for instance, are you this way? Are you a devoted person? Or were there special circumstances in your early home life where maybe your mother wasn't consistently available to you? Now that's just a question. I actually don't know.
Yeah, that is true.
Your mother was not consistently available.
Yes, in the beginning, I think when I was 4 or 5, around that time frame, like she had to do some higher studies, so she left me with her sister to raise, and maybe about 2 years, I was away from my mom.
That's right. That's right. Now that was for, so because your moon is intrinsically strong, because it's exalted and it's in the 11th house, the fact that your mother was absent didn't, I mean, she wasn't absent because she ran away from home or she was, deathly ill or, some other kind of negative connotation for the absence. But I mean, I could see that she was, and that of course that impacted you in a certain way, but not to the degree that you could, if your moon were dysfunctional, I would say that you could minimize yourself or marginalize yourself, or you could set yourself up to be victimized, or you could not understand your own emotional needs, or that you could live in chaos, or that you could not have firm boundaries around your domestic situation. But in your case, again, you have the benefit of having exalted chart lord. Yay, you'll have a lot of opportunities. Any difficult aspects you have, you're still going to bounce back, or you're going to land on your feet or something along those lines. But I have to be honest with you that a moon Neptune opposition is it says that you could be so involved in higher states of consciousness that in a certain way you would maybe have to remind yourself that you live on planet Earth. But this is a very very sweet, loving, compassionate signature of somebody that's interested in selfless service. That's what Neptune is associated with. And also real creativity. You could be a great dancer, fine artist. You have a bunch of planets in your 3rd house. Yes, speaking of those planets in your 3rd house, Muthu, in the house of the performing arts. Now, in this case, because I use the outer planets, you have an additional 2 planets in your 3rd house of the performing arts and personal courage and all sorts of energy and things. You also have Pluto and Uranus there. So just looking at your, wait a second, I got out of sequence. Cancer rising, chart lord, aspects to the chart lord. Neptune opposite the moon. Here's what I've started doing with my clients as well, because again, I have a high volume of clients and I have only a certain amount of time to talk with them. Oh, thank you. Speaking of the moon, my phone is giving me the moon mantra just for emphasis. And I've mentioned that to my clients too, so that's a little nimitta for support for what we're talking about. But okay, so these days I've started to say, we live in such a wonderful world that you could go online, and here's the aspect that I'm looking at on your behalf. Natal moon opposite Neptune. And then I would, of course, caution them about the amount of hogwash that's on the internet. But just for the sake of being comprehensive in my survey, I'd say, okay, go online and for further elaboration, look at your own moon Neptune opposition. If you have questions about that, let me know. But okay, back to your Saturn throwing its special 3rd house aspect onto your moon. Now, Saturn as a planet is pretty much the antidote to Neptune. So you have a Moon Neptune opposition. You're not going to end up in a cardboard box on the side of the road because you spaced out and just forgot what planet you live on. No, because good old Saturn is contacting your moon too, saying that this adds real stability, reliability, integrity, being, capable of understanding boundaries and those sorts of things. So that's very nice. You have a Malavya yoga, as you well know, right? Venus in its own sign in the 4th house. Congratulations. Your heart, your house, your chart may be or may not be really good for real estate. So if I said that to a client, oh, look, you've got a Malavya yoga, Venus, the planet of comfort and wealth and creativity and comfort in the 4th house. Yeah, you have a stable home most of the time. You also have the retrograde Lord of your 12th house there. If you were an American, I would say, oh, you live in a giant ostentatious house, but you better be careful about foreclosures. Now, I wouldn't say that to you because you're probably not in that, probably better because you have your moon in Taurus. You probably have good money management techniques. But do you live in a beautiful home, dear? I mean, sir.
Yes, it is good enough. I mean, I consider this beautiful.
Well, okay, you bring up a point. That from your own frame of reference, you live in a beautiful, comfortable home where
Yes.
there could be, peace and quiet. And, I mean, all these Venus concepts. Now, I would also say, even though nobody's asked me about this, you might say, well, what is the value of telling somebody what they already know about their chart? I mean, maybe you do, maybe that's a rhetorical question, maybe not. You might say, well, yes, he already knows that he lives in a beautiful house. Well, okay. I would answer that rhetorical question by saying, well, this at least validates what's in your chart or what I'm seeing in your chart, so that, here's the punchline, so that when we get to our projections of future activity, I mean, this gives you some confidence that yes, this has played out. That Venus in its happy place in the house of real estate, you benefit from this, from your, I mean, all these are relative terms, but for you, your subjective experience of your home is that it's peaceful and lovely and creates sattva. So then when I start talking about, oh, well, for instance, in mid-November, from November, approximately November 16th till approximately December 10th, in that range, when you have your Venus return, there's lots of, beautiful activities, or that's a time in your home, or that's a time to celebrate, family issues in your home. Or if you're looking to buy more real estate, perhaps you could do that. Or if you or your wife are going to be redecorating, it's great for that sort of thing. So that would be the application of that. So in the interest of other people who might have a question, are you okay with, I realize we only covered your ascendant, moon, chart lord, aspects to your moon, and I just randomly picked up on your Malavya yoga.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I have one quick thought I wanted to check with you.
Okay.
So there has been a lot of things changed in the last 2 years, like 2018 and 2019.
Yeah.
So what do you see in the chart that caused some major decisions which I made? I mean, they all turned out good, but I want to find correlate to what's in the chart.
Oh, you think that's a simple, quick question? Okay, we can do that. So now let me do from memory. So if I had your chart printed, I would have where the planets are around the outside of that circle. I have to tell you, with all due respect to, I know that I don't know, somehow it's hipper to have North Indian charts, but again, because of the amount of people that I see, every chart has, Saturn is going to be over. I'm going to just make a notation that Saturn is in the 7th house. I mean, not Saturn is in the 7th house. Saturn is in your 7th, transiting through your 7th house. But Saturn in the sky is going to be over here. Jupiter's going to be here. the nodes, I've just entered your 5th and 11th house. I mean, I'm just saying it's so much easier. Not that easy is good, but it's, okay, that's my spiel for the South Indian chart. But okay, so let's see. You had Saturn going through your 6th house for the last couple of years. That's not, I mean, that's not necessarily positive in a certain way, maybe. I don't know how many years back we're thinking. I mean,
2
that
years.
you're referring to.
2
Well,
years, 2018 and 19.
Well, you know, I have to say too, as a general statement, you know, the planets have been so clogged up in so many strange ways in the last year. You know, Saturn was with Ketu, and so there's a lot of generic influences which could also which also influence you. But going through my checklist, okay, Saturn in your 6th house. Well, I mean, you weren't involved in any legal issues, were you?
No, no legal issues.
Okay, but you know, typically Saturn in the 6th house is not necessarily a great place for it. I'm just going to set that aside. The nodes previously, or Rahu Ketu previously, were also in your 6th and 12th house. And so that can sometimes be a generalized disturbance where there's either a sense of loss, whether there was actually loss per se. That's just, that could have been disturbing in a general way. Did you have health related issues, or were you saying that this is specifically associated with a decision that you made?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have health related issues?
No health related issues, but it's more on career related issues. So it was not really a problem, but I had to jump through some hoops to figure out what I really have to do. So it all ended up good, but for about maybe 6 months, 8 months, I had to do things that are not inconvenient.
Well, so K2 was throwing its aspect onto your 10th house. Something must have been dealing, you could have, now I can't see this here. Well, wait a second, I probably possibly could. Hang on just one moment. If I look at somebody else's chart to see this. Well, I can't, I'll confuse myself. Again, here's the value of the outer planets. Speak English. Neptune is hovering over here in your 8th house. Now, Neptune stays in any given sign for 14 or 15 years. It could well be that Neptune from over here was aspecting your 10th house Lord. It probably was. And this means fuzzy thinking, ambiguity, ambivalence, perhaps victimization, setting yourself up in a situation where it was there were no boundaries, or it's not like overt fraud or anything, but you could have been depending on inaccurate information or measurements, or it's just it's the planet of illusion and delusion. So that's not a helpful combination to have Neptune opposite your 10th house Lord. So I mean, Saturn causes its own generic issues, the nodes. What else would be in there in terms of your excuse me, in terms of the dashas that you're running? 6th house Lord, 9th house Lord, Mars, 10th house Lord, 5th house Lord. I would think that I would say that you're in really good shape in terms of your career, between June of 2020 and May of 2021, if your time of birth is accurate to the minute.
Yes.
So there. So I'm sorry I couldn't do a back checking, but you bring up a good point, a good peripheral point, excuse me, that that's what I do with clients too, I do a little back checking and say, I see that this was really complicated, or this was a difficult period for you, or I see that you've just had a windfall, or something, just to at the outset to give them a little, just to give them a little confidence in terms of what we're doing, just a little back checking. So there. So, anybody else? What's next? Oh, here's what I would say. Are you okay with what we've done today, client?
It's good. It's good, Charlotte.
This is where you have to say yes. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to do anything, but in the interest of, I mean, I'm just politely, here's another tip too, in terms of consultations. I always have my exit lines ready, and that is one of them. Are you okay with what we've done here today? That is, are you okay with what we've done? Are you okay with what we've done here today? And then somebody like you, Mutha, will say, oh, just one more thing. And so I let them, just one more thing. And then I ask them again, so are you okay with this? And then I have my winding up, assuming that I've actually answered the questions. I have my wind up that I say, well, I send you off with every best wish, and I'm on your team, and I've got a list of that I say very sincerely. I don't want you to think that it's just, I'm just a Jyotishi machine, but just for everybody's sake, so that my clients are going, oh my God, that was 90 minutes. I thought that was about 20 minutes. Well, I warned you, this time is gonna fly by. I let them wind down a little bit, but doing Jyotish is such an amazing thing, because one fine day I'm going to write the questions that I have heard people ask me, famous people, about their about accounting and about their sex lives. And God, I would tell that to my best friend. But the odd thing about Jyotish is you get so involved with a person's deepest, their most, their most subtle and profound feelings, and then, oops, gotta go. I say that in the most loving way. So, I mean, I would suggest that too for the rest of you. If you don't already do that, just as practitioners, to have give them about a 3-minute warning to wind up, let them say whatever they have to say, let them process it a little bit. And then I say, I send you off with my best wishes. I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you. I'm on team Muthu, and let me know what happens. I just toss that. I hope, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, which I hope they don't really, because I'm too busy, but I'm rooting for everybody. This is a sacred science, and I do take it very responsibly. I want you to know, as you can see, I'm quite lighthearted, but this is what I tell my clients. I'm presenting the material in a lighthearted way, although I'm very serious about what I'm saying. Because, people come to Jyotishis and they're terrified. I had a young lady yesterday, she said, I'm so excited and nervous. Oh, no, don't be nervous. This will be fun. So.
I had a little thing to add. This last couple of years, we had, as you said, Kalasarpa yoga with the nodes and all those planets that were bollocksed up together. And of course, my clients are Americans, and so I would say it's like what happens when you put a rug in the washing machine and it spins, and the spin cycle is out of balance. And they get it. And I said, this is what everybody is going through. So, we're all in this together.
Right.
And you too, Muthu.
Yeah. There are universal, it's like a giant weather pattern. There are universal experiences. Everybody's going through some kind of hell here with these planets together. So, people like that context too, is that this is very unusual. No doubt about it. These are very unusual times. But I've just brought up another point, which I hope I can also add here, that, I'm saying we're going through unusual times. Now, there's no value judgment associated with that word. We could say these are horrible times. Obviously, especially if you live anywhere near the United States, there's blood running in the streets. There's the beginning of civil war, for God's sake, what is next around here? However, I think that using the vocabulary for, any given thing in a birth chart, another one of my favorite vocabulary words is complex. Something is complex. That's neither good nor bad, but we can develop that idea. But again, the lack of value judgment about anything, I think, in the contemporary world is I'm not, is valuable. I mean, for the client. So I'm just also offering that. So
Right.
Meenakshi, are you okay with what we've done here today?
Yes, I mean, Charlotte, I'm just looking into all the good stuff which you are like telling, and then you are talking with so much of energy and so fast the consultation, because as people start looking into the chart, it like hours and hours pass by and you can keep talking about. So thank you
Yes.
for all of those beautiful tips which you have given, how to communicate, how to ask question and tell them that yes, last question. So
Well,
it's lovely. It's
well,
lovely how it is.
well, thank you. And another thing, I do warn my clients. I said, okay, record the session and take paper notes. I've got a lot to tell you. I'm going to give you full value for your money. You can process this information later. You know, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but you know, you gotta keep up here because we got a lot to talk about. You might not see me for another 2 years because I'm busy. I mean, I'm for you, but I'm busy. So I mean, thank you. I know that I sort of ran away with this session, but
No, this is lovely. I mean, what I mean, I'm definitely I can see more from the audience what they're definitely saying it's a beautiful session, and I can see also in the chart there is an interaction going on, which we are definitely not looking into a lot. While I can definitely say that Nicole is talking about, like, she was looking into the chart and she said that his 10th house is in the sun conjunct with the Mercury. Maybe it was something from the past karma or something to finish. So people are like looking into and trying to have their own understanding about this. So it was, I will say, just lovely.
well, thank you. You know, you're very generous, and you know, now I'm scrolling through these questions. Yes, if I were meeting a client for the first time, I have my orderly, okay, here's your ascendant, where's your ascendant Lord, here's your moon sign, and here's your lunar nakshatra, here's your lunar mansion. Yes, I do mention nakshatras, but that's when I'm not performing in public. And I do check dashas, and yeah, but you know, there again, I have so much to tell people. They can only process so much anyway, even when I'm talking about them, and it's all about me, la la la. Yes, we could talk all day long about you, and we could not repeat ourselves. But again, but all human beings have a certain attention span, even if it's an emotional effect. Haven't you found that there's a real emotional effect when somebody's reading your, I don't use the word reading, but it's when somebody's analyzing your chart for you. I mean, there's a real energy exchange here. And I found that 90 minutes, 93 minutes, I don't mean 100 minutes. I mean 93 minutes. That's it. So that's why I can't mention everything. As fast as I can talk, I can't tell you everything. So you know, I thank you for investing some of your time with me on date night here, Friday night. So
Yeah.
but again, my intention is to be helpful, and if I was helpful, then I'm grateful to spend time with you, and I'm honored to be in your presence.
So thank you, Charlotte. I think this is really fascinating. We would like to keep hearing you as you are talking about all of those beautiful tips and the practical tips which you are looking into. So definitely, when it is about me, it's like, it can go on for for people. So and also the justice for the money as you are talking about. And when we try to educate them what we are talking about, it's become overwhelming for them because they do not know Vedic astrology. So we do have to tell them a little bit, but at the same time, you have to answer the question. So completely there with you how it is going. So anybody else you'd like to add to something? So I can see Deepak ji wants to say something. So Deepak ji, you want to speak up? We are getting over the time, so we do not want to take up bigger questions.
Right. I just only to get only the indication about my D20 spirituality progress possibilities only. I don't want any prediction. I just need the indication because the 12th Lord and the 6th Lord are in the 6th. Dusthana Lords in Dusthana in D20. That's why my request only. If possible, you have the birth chart.
So, Deepakji, I think that will be difficult at this stage because Charlotte has to cast the chart and then look into. So, I will definitely
You can
say
give the information if
yes.
possible.
Yeah,
That's the only
definitely.
request because basically I'm waiting for so many years about the particular indications.
Sir, you have my email address. Email me. We can
Okay.
work on
I will take it from.
Yeah, I will pass it over to you.
Well, you know
Okay.
my name. I mean, just you know my name. You can figure out my email address. I
Yes.
mean, I'm all over the place. So
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
yes, I remember this was your question from the last time. So bless your persistence. Bless your
Yes.
persistence, sir. Yes, email
Yes.
me.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I did not remember that. So,
Well,
so
Colleen, you've been a little busy lately, haven't you, lady? Good Lord. So, okay. Well,
so anything else if somebody wants to speak up and ask question? If not, we will go towards concluding the session.
okay.
And Rani ji, I will pick on you. I'm sorry today we could not do the initial prayer, but we'll definitely get into the closing.
Sure. Wonderful session, Shaliji.
Oh, thank you.
Entertaining, fun, and
Good.
yeah, upbeat, lighthearted. Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So,
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Thank you.
So thank you, Charlotte, for joining. And I will definitely say thank you everybody for joining in again the evening session. And this is one of the last session or the interactive session for the Jyotish Mela. But definitely we will have, there will be path across for us. We will definitely be meeting each other into the webinars. And with that, we all definitely, tomorrow is the last day for the Jyotish Mela. So we'll see you guys in the Jyotish Mela starting 8 a.m. Eastern time. And line up, Jairam will be speaking in the morning, and then we will have followed by a few more presentations. So see you guys tomorrow.
all right.
All right.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Leave the meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the help. And still I'm waiting for the email. Thank you very much.
Yes. So Deepakji, do you know how to look into the chat? If
no,
you are on the WhatsApp,
you have
right?
Saurabh ji has my birth data and everything on your record also.
No, Deepakji, you can directly send it to her.
Oh, okay. Just send me the email in my text message and I will.
I am doing that.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. There you go. I sent her email ID to you.
Okay,
in
great.
the WhatsApp.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Meenakshi.
No, you are welcome. And, definitely we will be very happy to help from our side.
Yeah, thanks for your kindness because basically I don't want to boast or anything, but basically I don't have to do anything. Still I'm doing everything, but I don't need to do anything. And I'm not interested in money. So that's the only concept for me. That's why I'm interested because now that I'm just passing the time without doing anything with the monetary aspects. So just to make sure that what I can do furthermore.
Yeah, not a problem. We have to close the session, Deepakji, but we can definitely talk.
Thank you very much. Saurabh ji, again, happy birthday to him. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepakji.
Thank you.
Saurabh,